everyone, and welcome back to Anne's Family Recipe. Today is a battle of the briskets. Our friend Chay is going to smoke a dry-aged brisket, and we are going to bake one in the oven and see which one comes out on top. Now, I have an oven-baked beef brisket video on my YouTube channel that is super popular. It has hundreds of thousands of views, and most of the people who've tried my recipe have absolutely loved it. However, this is a very controversial video because there are two camps I have learned. Some people believe that oven baked is okay and an acceptable form of cooking your beef brisket, and other people say smoke your brisket or nothing at all. So today we're gonna try out two incredible dry-aged beef briskets, courtesy of Logan Family Farms in Irwin, Pennsylvania. Their meat is incredible. If you've never tried dry-aged beef, it's super tender and has amazing flavor. I'll link the Logan Family Farms website for you in my description box below. It's so important to shop local, and they have the most incredible, flavorful, dry-aged beef. So our friend Chay lives right down the street. He loves to smoke his own meats. He has a huge smoker parked outside of his house, and oftentimes he sells his briskets at local festivals and fairs and things like that. They are incredible, tried and true in our community. So I'm gonna walk you through the process today. Both of us have to pre-season our beef the day before. They're gonna sit overnight, and then we're gonna get up super early in the morning and either hit the oven or the smoker with our beef briskets. Comment below, are you team oven baked brisket or team smoked brisket? I wanna know. Today I'm making an ultra flavorful Tex Mex style dry rub for my dry aged brisket. This is a Logan Family Farms family recipe. I learned about it a couple of years ago at a farm to table dinner that I did with them. I made sweet corn ice cream, which was fabulous. I have a video for that on my channel. I also made their family's corn casserole, which was such a great recipe. And on top of that, they served this Tex Mex style sliced brisket, which was just an incredible combination of flavors. So this dry rub includes brown sugar, salt, paprika, garlic and onion powder, cumin, chili powder, black pepper, parsley flakes, dried thyme, dried basil, and nutmeg. I'll put the full recipe in my description box below with all the measurements for you. For this recipe, you are going to use a double layer of foil. I just have a bunch out here to kind of seal the juices and the flavors into the beef as it's cooking in the oven. And then I have it on a rimmed baking sheet down here just to catch any juices that may drip out of the foil. So I'm gonna put my brisket right on top of this and season it liberally on both sides, wrap it up, and then put this whole tray into my fridge overnight. So this is gonna get 24 hours in the spice rub before we bake it in the oven tomorrow. My brisket today is about 7 pounds. I'm going to unpackage it and lay it out onto the baking sheet, season it liberally on both sides with my dry rub, and kind of pat it on so that it sticks. I started with the fat side down so that it would end up on top, so that as it baked slowly, the fat would render down into the beef. Then I wrap this up tightly and put it into the refrigerator.
I'm Chay with JAILHOUSE SWINE. I do brisket, prime rib, pulled pork obviously. My favorite, seems to be a JAILHOUSE SWINE favorite if you will, is burn ends. Pork belly burn ends as well as brisket point burn ends. So,
oh, yum.
Yeah, so that's what, I just made a bunch of batch for my boss a couple weeks ago.
That's how you keep your job, huh?
Yeah, right. This looks like a flat.
Okay.
Like this is just the entire flat. Like this sits kind of like that, and then the point would kind of be underneath. I don't see a line of fat line, because a true, like, a whole brisket, a packer brisket, you'll see a definite point here, like where it's separated with a layer of fat, and this has all been trimmed, as you can see. And it would kind of just sit like kind of right there.
Okay. Is that still okay for what you're doing?
Yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah,
Is it good to have like that back fat on there, like how it is? Is that typically what you want, or is that?
No, yeah, this will be perfect. This will all render down pretty nice, make it soft and melty. It's not very too thick, if you will. I mean, sometimes on the packer briskets you'll get, fat cap that much, and you'll have to trim that down to like 1/8 of an inch. But they did a good job here trimming that all up. I made a concoction of beef broth and Worcestershire sauce. You don't ever want to put this on the brisket hot, because you have to boil the water to make your beef base. So I did this probably about noon today, 1 o'clock. Made my beef and just let it sit out to get the room temperature. You could throw a couple ice cubes in it if you were in a rush. I don't do it all the time. I'm doing it now just because it is a little bit more of a special event. And then I have my injector here. It's a siphon injector.
Is this for flavor or moisture or?
It's both, actually.
Both.
So
okay.
It's just going to intensify the beef flavor as well as add a lot of moisture, because as you can see, this is real thin up here, and you don't want that to dry out. So
cool.
So I'm just going to take this in, try to go in square. My dad showed me kind of how to barbecue. Like 91.
Wow.
So like I've been around it for a long time.
You made up your own mix here.
Salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, and then this is like the base rub, I guess, if you will.
Okay.
It's a big piece of meat. It can take a lot of salt, a lot of pepper, and not overpower anything. And now, because I did inject it, and you'll see all that liquid in there, I am going to put this tray.
So this is Montreal steak seasoning on top.
This is going to be the bark. This is what I say is creates the bark. I do like to season and let it rest overnight, because that will kind of dry it out a little bit, get a little pectin on there, and then it'll absorb the smoke and create a nice bark.
So you cook it with the fat on top, right?
I'm gonna cook fat side up, and there's a couple different people that say, oh, you got to cook fat side down. It creates a barrier with the heat, but with
fat dripping into the meat, that probably makes it more.
Well, right, the fat's basing the meat on this, and then with the Traeger, the nice thing about a pellet smoker is it's a consistent heat. I'll be plus or minus 10 degrees pretty much the entire cook, and then it already has a heat baffle. So I mean, I want the fat to be rendered down into the meat instead of protected. We shouldn't. And then we'll wrap. We'll wrap once it gets to about 160, 165. We'll do a wrap with peach butcher paper, then kind of infuse a little bit of another little layer of flavor with it.
Do you have a preference? I know you're going to make this on a Traeger, which is a pellet.
Yes, it's
smoker?
A pellet smoker, correct.
Okay, but you said you also have stick smokers.
Yep.
Do you have a preference? It sounds like some people, there's like two schools out there.
There's two schools of thought. One, it's not true barbecue unless it's made with real wood, on your stick smoker. I like the ease of, lack of a better term, set it and forget it. On that, I can dial in the smoker at 225, and she'll be at 225, for the duration of the cook without me babysitting it. However, it's fun if you have a day, or an evening to smoke. I believe you get a truer barbecue flavor on a stick smoker.
Okay.
So my preference would be stick smoking.
Lucky for you, have both.
I do have both.
Now, how about your brisket, is it more of a pulled texture, or do you slice it as well?
No, it's going to be sliced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the plan
pull
for mine
this.
too. We'll see how it goes.
I'll pull this at probably 190, 195, and then let it rest in a cooler for a couple, hopefully 2 hours. 1 to 2 hours, then I'll slice it.
Okay, so it's very early the next morning. I will not be showing you my face at this point in time, but I came downstairs to preheat my oven to 250 degrees. I pulled the brisket out of the fridge, and this is gonna bake low and slow all day. It's about an hour per pound, so we're gonna cook this for about 8 hours. The brisket is in the oven, and the recipe does say to put a small pan of water in the oven as it bakes. So I can check on that periodically and refill it as needed, but for now, we'll see this brisket in about 8 hours. Okay, so my brisket has been in the oven since 6 o'clock this morning. I took it out around 2, so I got a good 8 hours. I used my meat thermometer. It's right around 190 degrees, which is the perfect temperature for brisket. The house smells amazing, albeit it's slightly warm in here, but that's okay, we will survive. It's a beautiful day outside, so we just opened some windows, no big deal. But I'm so excited to try this. Now my method, something that I really like about baking it in the oven is pretty much everybody has an oven, so it's very accessible in that way, but it's also very hands-off. Wait till you see all the different steps that Chay took to infuse so much flavor into his beef. I cannot wait to try it.
Okay, so now we're gonna wrap the brisket in peach butcher paper. Which will keep it moist while allowing smoke to penetrate. You want to try to keep it as tight as possible. Put the probes back in. Right now we're sitting about 165 degrees. Back on the Traeger. And we'll wait till it hits about 195 degrees before we pull it and let it rest for at least an hour.
Okay, the moment of truth. I mean, that looks pretty spectacular. It smells good too. Alabama white.
Yep, it's a mayonnaise vinegar based. It has some horseradish in there.
Would you say it's spicy or not very spicy?
It's, to me, it's not spicy at all. It does have 2 teaspoons of cayenne in there, but it's not that spicy in my opinion.
Okay.
But I like stuff hot.
So this is sweet, and then this one's spicy,
Yeah,
and it has
they're
pickled
identical.
jalapenos.
Yeah, it's, I mean, the flavor with it, you're still going to get a sweet hint to it. However, you're going to get that big kick from the jalapenos.
Chay's wife made these delicious roasted Brussels sprouts with butternut squash and a pomegranate glaze. I had baked beans, my corn casserole, which is more like a sweet cornbread, and then the Logan Family Farms scalloped corn casserole with lots of bell peppers and onions. I'll link both of these corn casserole recipes for you in my description box below. Then we have Chay's smoked brisket along with his own 45-day dry-aged brisket that he had smoked a while ago. He brought that for us to sample. And then my oven-baked Tex Mex brisket using the Logan Family Farms recipe. We're actually finished with our meal, but we wanted to show some of the beef on camera. So I'm going to try some of Chay's and he's going to try some of mine and we'll tell you what we think. Ready? Cheers.
Cheers.
So what do you think? Coming from somebody who generally smokes his own brisket, what do you think about oven baked?
It's fantastic. I love the spices you use. Tex Mexy, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
Fantastic flavor. Moist, tender. Turned out perfect. 10 out of 10.
I was pretty proud. I was nervous coming into this, to be honest. Okay, the smoked brisket is insanely delicious, which does not surprise me at all. I wish Sean and I are thinking about getting a smoker now because we want to smoke our own meats. So the flavor is incredible. We saw that pink smoke ring. That's something you're just not going to get from the oven baked brisket, that smoky flavor. What do you think about liquid smoke? Out of curiosity, that's kind of a side note.
Fake.
But yeah.
It's fake.
Just not even worth it.
Not
right?
even worth it. Not even worth it.
I agree. I don't really care for the taste of that. But this is phenomenal. I really prefer, I like the Tex Mex flavor. I think that is well suited, particularly for, like you were saying, brisket tacos or brisket nachos. We have so many ideas now for our leftovers. But I love the Montreal seasoning. I think it goes so well with all the homemade barbecue sauces that Chay brought, which were all delicious.
Thank you.
Yes, I never tried an Alabama, or is that what it's called?
Yep,
Alabama white sauce.
Yep.
So good. And then what else about yours? Well, it's falling apart too. I was proud that mine was equally as tender as yours.
Yes,
that made me nervous.
It
but
was.
that's a good thing because not everybody has a smoker. So if you want to do the oven baked, you'll still get a really tender, moist product too. But that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Good job. Thank you.
Here are the results. We had 6 people taste testing the brisket that day. The oven baked got 4 votes for texture, 1 vote for flavor, and 2 votes for best overall. The smoked brisket received 2 votes for texture, 5 votes for flavor, and 4 votes for best overall. Now, the group agreed that the Tex Mex Spice Rub was delicious, but that Montreal steak seasoning really was amazing with the barbecue sauces. If you want to make the Tex Mex brisket, definitely use it for tacos or nachos, something with a little bit of a Mexican flair to it. But overall, we had such a blast, and the winner of this brisket battle was Chay's smoked brisket. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Instagram at Anne's Family Recipe and give this video a thumbs up if you love brisket. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon.